Mike Griffith here of SEC Country along with Alex Martin-Smith. Alex, orange and white game today wasn't really that much of a game. I thought we would have a competitive game with the first team offense and the second team defense is the orange team. The first team defense, second team offense is the white team. It was a blowout, 34-7. The first team offense dominating Tennessee's defense.
That's right. I think we were expecting to see a little bit of a different outcome there in terms of the first team defense, maybe showing up a little more so than the offense. But it really was a blowout. I mean, what, at halftime, 20-0 at least, maybe 27-0 at half. But I think in some ways the fans liked it because the first team O was scoring points, but at the same time, Coach Pruitt was not happy with the first team defense performance.
No, not only not happy with their performance, but a lack of intensity. He said at the halftime interview, they're not responding. Everybody's looking around. He wants people that are going to respond. He wants defenders that are going to lead. Nigel Warrior was flying around. I saw a lot of number 18 making a lot of plays. But other than that, Jeremy Pruitt called it out. He said there's one guy not blocked and he doesn't make a play. We saw Micah Abernathy struggle. We saw Cortez Sapp struggle. These are guys that probably won't be on the field in the fall unless something changes in a hurry. And I will say this, Daniel Batuli and Darren Kirkland, the two projected starting middle linebackers, Alex, those guys can make a difference.
Yeah, I think you asked Coach Pruitt about that. Is when these guys, when the team's at full strength and everybody's coached up and the season begins, Coach, was of the mind that a couple guys can make a big difference, or some really good players can make a difference with their one-on-one matchups. Because if you don't have those guys winning individual battles, your team as a whole is just going to get blown back by that offense. So I think he has enough of a point there, but there's still a lot of question marks for the defensive unit right now.
Yeah, one of them still at cornerback. Alex, you asked him about Alontae Taylor, a young guy that came in here mid-semester or January enrollee. We thought was going to be a receiver, the needed defensive back. Coach talked to you about what's going to happen with Alontae Taylor moving forward.
Yeah, it still sounds like it's up in the air to an extent. They're not really sure exactly. I'm sure they want to go look at some film on him and that kind of thing, what he did today. But I think for the most part it was a little bit of an experiment, I guess you could call it, and one that will probably continue. I think that was sort of the gist of what he was saying. So.
Yeah, at the very least, they know that he's available and he's that much closer to playing if Tennessee needs him to. Coach Pruitt said we're going to take a look at some of the guys coming in. I only counted one corner coming in. Makes me wonder if there's a graduate transfer that we don't know about. There's going to be a lot of guys that arrive in June. It sounds like there's going to be some guys that are going to be leaving after May. Coach Pruitt said he's going to have some exit interviews. Listen, he did not try to hide his disappointment in there today, and I know some fans may be getting a little tired of Coach Pruitt being negative, but he's got a certain standard, Alex, that he wants these guys to play up to, and he's not backing down.
Yeah, if the coach tells you that he's a little iffy on his team at the moment, or some question marks, you got to listen to the guy. I mean, the fans aren't there every day at practice. Especially, it's easy for coaches to be overly positive with the media, with the fans, and kind of feed you a line. But I think when the coach is a little bit negative, it's not something you can just brush off and pretend like he doesn't know what he's talking about. Because I think there's no greater expert on this football team than the head coach. And when he's being real with you as a fan base and the media, I think it's smart to maybe pay attention to what he's saying and accept some of those things.
Absolutely, and some accountability for these Tennessee football players as well as they walk around. It's not everybody saying, hey, I heard you had a great spring. It's more of, hey, when you guys going to get it going? I think Jeremy Pruitt is creating some accountability and a sense of urgency by putting the community on notice. He said, he wants all the fans to be a part of this, to reach out and touch. Well, guess what? Those fans are going to see those players, Alex, and they're going to say, hey, how you doing, man? Coach Pruitt said you guys have to get it going. Who are the leaders? They're going to be hearing this, and that's going to be something different, because for a long time Tennessee football players have been put on a pedestal. Not anymore. Jeremy Pruitt has let everyone know this team is not where it needs to be, Alex.
Yeah, some of it is a page out of Nick Saban's playbook, where you're working the fans through the press conferences, you're sending messages to the players through the media, and Nick has always been about making sure the fans show up, they stay late, they're loud. He's very much in tune with the crowd and with the number that he wants in the stadium. And I can tell that Pruitt was much in the same way today. wanting maybe a little bit bigger crowd, and maybe wondering where some of those people were who stayed home.
Yeah, he said that. He said some had a good excuse, others just didn't show up. Kind of like the team is exactly what he said. If you have questions, this is Facebook Live. You can ask those questions. Our cameraman Shane Shandifer can pass those along to Alex and I as we talk if anybody has any questions. We'll say this, Jarrett Guarantano, I thought, showed a lot of improvement. 15 of 27, 226 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was voted the game MVP. Pruitt's response to that? That's not indicative of what we've seen all spring. So I don't want to say that he poo-pooed it. He did say that the offense brought a little more sense of urgency. He could feel a little bit more enthusiasm from that first-team offense / Orange team than he could the defense. So there was kind of a compliment there for Jarrett Guarantano in the offense, but also, Alex, a qualifier.
Yeah, I think, in some ways he's kind of protecting Will McBride too, where Will had not a very good day. I have a couple long passes, almost connected, would have changed his box score completely. But I think as a coach, you're saying, okay, look, we've seen these guys for, a month and a half now, or however long spring has lasted, and we know more about these guys than the fans who saw them today. So just because a guy didn't necessarily show up and have a big day like Will, he really didn't match Jarrett throw for throw. It was not even close. I think it's about looking at the big picture for Pruitt and his staff right now.
Now the voice, Shane, what was our question?
What was the deal with Shai and Batuli?
What was the deal with Shai Tuttle and Daniel Batuli? Shai Tuttle played. I don't know what specifically you're looking for. Daniel Batuli's a guy that was held out that probably could have played. He got a little nicked up this spring, but Batuli will be back. Darren Kirkland's another guy who will be back. Juwan Jennings will be back. I think Pruitt said there were 12 guys that were held out. Only 4 of those guys were injured this spring. So big difference from a year ago when 23 players missed the orange and white game. So Tennessee is that much healthier. I guess that's the good news. The bad news is they didn't look that much better. Shane, is there another question for us?
Who stood out today?
Who stood out today? I thought Guarantano had a good day, but I would also point to the running backs. I was impressed with Tim Jordan. I'm looking at his stats here. 9 carries for 57 yards. He had a 29-yarder. I think we already knew about Ty Chandler with 11 carries for 53 yards. Alex, there was also some receivers and tight ends that looked pretty good today.
Yeah, and I think Eli Wolf had that last touchdown catch where it was a bullet throw over the middle by Guarantano, and Wolf kind of reached up and pawed it, off the deflection with one hand and powered into the end zone. That was a pretty impressive play. Even though this guy might not have had overall an amazing scrimmage, I think Kyle Phillips had a couple big plays that were fun to watch. He knocked Guarantano on his butt on a double reverse, and then he picked up a sack off the left side later. So those were just a couple guys that stood out to me.
And I liked Austin Pope. I got to see Austin line up in the backfield at fullback. He made a catch at tight end. He's a guy that's obviously impressed Pruitt, or he wouldn't have been made available to the media. Austin, a local guy from Sevierville that played at CAK. It was good to see him healthy and on the field. He looks like he's going to be a big contributor. Really knocked Micah Abernathy's block off on that catch and run there at the goal line. Shane, any other questions out there?
Timmy Jordan looked like he had some juice. Do you agree with that today?
I absolutely agree that Tim Jordan had some juice, and I've been told that there is competition. He averaged 6.3 yards a carry. Ty Chandler with 4.8. So that is definitely something to keep an eye on. On the flip side, Trey Coleman was on the white team, 6 carries for 13 yards, didn't do much. And looking at the different quarterback statistics, Jarrett Guarantano, 15 of 27, 226 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked twice, still showing a tendency to hold the ball a little long here and there. Will McBride, 6 of 18, 2 interceptions. One of them came out of the receiver's hands, Tyler Bird's, only 71 yards. And as Alex said, there were a couple of deep throws. I felt like if there was a quality receiver there, they would have been able to run underneath the catch and weren't able to do that. So I've heard McBride has had a pretty good spring. When I look at the defensive statistics, I see that Cortez Sapp had 11 stops, but didn't make a tackle at the goal line unblocked, and that was something that really bothered Jeremy Pruitt. Nigel Warrior, as I mentioned, with 8 stops. And then for the Orange team, which was the second team defense, a pretty good day for Kevon Bennett. The son of Cornelius Bennett. He had a sack and a TFL. It was good to see him get in there and make some plays. And then Alontae Taylor, playing with that second team defense, he came up there, stuck his helmet in there for a couple of tackles. Any other questions, Shane?
How did the offensive and defensive lines do?
What were your thoughts about the line of scrimmage today?
Well, again, this goes back to sort of the surprise. We were thinking maybe the defensive line was going to have some success against that first team OL, and it really went the other way, where there were a lot of big holes open up on that first team defensive line. A lot of running backs running through. We talked about Tim Jordan. There are 2 plays in particular where he really made his name and demanded that you figure out who that was, who just ran the ball on that. I think it was a 29-yard run to the left side, and then 2 plays later, Powered. There was a pretty big rush right in his face, and he slipped out and then powered over the goal line for a touchdown. So I think, yes, there are a lot of great individual plays from the running backs, but the offensive line did a really nice job.
And this is a makeshift line. I think Ryan Johnson out of Brentwood has done a really good job at center. Look, Trey Smith's not out there. Still some questions about whether or not Trey's going to be back this fall, but I really like the way that Ryan Johnson has stepped up at center. I was impressed with Riley Locklear. He was out there as well. Jerome Carvin, a freshman out of Memphis, he was out there, and he did some powerful blocking. Marcus Tatum, I thought, did a nice job, and Drew Richmond did a nice job too. So this was kind of a makeshift offensive line, missing a couple guys that we think will start. If Trey Smith is healthy, he will definitely start. Chance Hall's a guy who, if he's healthy, he would also start. And Big K-Ron Calvert, another guy. So you had some defensive guys over there playing on the O-line. I know I saw Matthew Butler over there as well. So I thought that offensive line did a really good job, considering we went into the spring saying that was going to be the weakness and that was going to be the biggest part of the team we wondered about. And they actually did a pretty good job against the first-team defense today. Shane, you got another question for us?
Yeah, so how would you rate the performance of the coaches and players today from A to D?
Rating the performance of the players. Well, I'll tell you this. Jeremy Pruitt was asked to assess how well they know the offense and defense, and he said a D. I think I would probably give the team today a C-. I thought it was a little below average. I don't want to take anything away from, I thought Jared Garantano made some really nice throws. I thought he got rid of the ball quickly. Marquez Callaway had a really nice catch in the end zone, fought off a DB for that. I was impressed with Jordan and Ty Chandler as well. And I like Alontae Taylor at cornerback. I like Nigel Warrior. So while maybe it wasn't quite up to what we thought, Alex, I thought there was still some good things to draw on.
Yeah, it should be said, too, that, starting quarterback in a spring game, it's not a given that they're going to have big numbers, have a nice day. I feel like so many spring games, the offenses fall on their face or the quarterback throws a few picks. And this was a game where Garantano had to look good because they've got a couple other guys coming in this summer. It wasn't just about, okay, who's going to look less worse out on the field. He had to go out and prove something, and I think he did today. I think that was a nice performance by Jared Garantano and something that he can actually take into the summer and sort of wear it as a badge of honor. What he did today was pretty impressive.
Yeah, he should be proud of himself. I know he had a tough redshirt freshman year, going 1 of 5, got beat up a little bit. But look, he's added 18 or 20 pounds. He's looked good in the drills, and I know Pruitt said that today wasn't necessarily indicative of the spring. And yes, we have heard that Will McBride looked better in some of the other scrimmages, but today I thought was Jared Garantano's day. I don't think you can take that away from him. I think that'll wrap it up for our post-game breakdown, Alex. We're going to write some more stuff for SEC Country. I've got a recap up right now. I've got a story about what Coach Pruitt said at halftime. He was pretty darn upset. You're going to want to read that. I'll have a stock report. I'll have a report card. And, Alex, you're going to take a much closer look at those quarterbacks.
Yeah, a close look at the quarterbacks and what the fans were saying before the game.
So, everyone, thanks for joining us here. I'm at Mike Griffith 32. And what's your Twitter handle?
A Smith, ASMIFF.
All right, A. Smith, and then they thank Shane Sand for helping us out at SEC Country and Danny Parker with some great art. That'll wrap it up for us from here. Everyone have a great off season.